You're listening to Pixelated Audio Music Disc Volume 1.
Welcome to Pixelated Audio, your bi-weekly video game music and retro gaming podcast. I'm Brian, this is James, and we've got a bunch of great music to share with you guys today. Super excited.
Yeah, thanks for joining in. So we're going to be doing things just a little bit different today. With the new year, Brian and I thought it would be kind of fun to add some new additions to the show.
Right.
So this new show type, Pixelated Audio Music Disc Volumes, is one of those new additions.
Yeah, it's kind of an idea we've been toying around with over the last several months. But yeah, with the new year, we have some pretty cool ideas for the show. We're still going to continue to do our same thing, playing the obscure stuff, some stuff bringing on composers, the same thing. But kind of build upon that.
Right. Like you said, nothing really is going to change other than just adding a new type of, like how when we added the expansion packs and things like that, like it's just going to be something new that you can kind of keep the mix and variety going.
Yeah, and you guys can let us know if you don't like it. But, I'm excited. It's something new. It feels fresh. It feels exciting. It's a new year,
Yeah, get those new type of episode jitters. It's pretty fun.
Well, 2017 is going to be a big year for us, I think. We have a lot of really cool stuff lined up, and so I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're gonna hit 3 years and we're gonna hit 100 episodes this year, so it's gonna be pretty cool.
Oh man, we got to do something big, but
yeah,
I don't even want to think about it right now.
We got a little bit of time on that. So but to move on, so music discs. In the previous episodes, you might remember us talking about how the Japanese PC market, like the PC-8801 and Sharp systems, sparked this whole generation of amateur game developers and musicians known as doujin groups, which is basically a general term for a club or group of people that share the same common interest or hobby typically seen in the manga and anime community.
Yeah, if you look at the word doujin in Japanese, it's composed of two different characters. There's do, which is it means the same. It's the same as like onaji. And then jin, which is people or person. So it's like same people. So it's kind of like like-minded.
Yeah.
But people in these doujin groups, they usually refer to themselves as being part of like a sakuru, which is like a circle. Sometimes the name has not necessarily a good sounding meaning, but I think in the Japanese sense, it doesn't negate from the value of like this is like actual content,
Kind of like it's less than professional or something like that.
Right. So for us though, we're referring to its use in the software sense, specifically music. I mean, that's what the show's all about. There weren't a ton of these groups, but there was a sizable amount of content, and we're going to kind of go through it maybe one disc at a time. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, most likely these were guys that were huge video game music fans, and, like us, they grew up with music and were inspired by it. And when PCs started finally making it into people's homes, now they had the tools at their disposal to kind of play around with it and do it themselves.
Right. So towards the end of the 80s through the 90s, there became this influx of doujin music discs, which is basically like 1 or 2 floppy disks that contain nothing more than rearrangements of game music or original tunes using the built-in FM or, those expansion chips and stuff like that. The idea to kind of put this into a show may have spawned from our Hole Chaser episode.
Right.
Yeah, with Kajihara. We talked about the Ryokushi Sound Team music discs and how Kaji's driver made a big impact on the doujin community. So the Pixelated Audio Music Disc volumes are going to be slightly shorter episodes, probably not this one,
right?
This is our first, But yeah, focused on typically a single music disc with a selection of our favorite tracks from it.
Yeah, either game music arrangements or original tunes, or a combo of both, like today's Spotlight on the first Orphe Music Disk. The track that brought us in, if you know your Ys music, was actually a cover of Tower of the Shadow of Death from Ys 1, originally composed by Yuzo Koshiro.
Yeah, and this version was arranged by either Ryuichi Hasegawa or Takayoshi Yamamoto. This track was incredible.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. The beat that's in the beginning kind of reminded me either of like Ghostbusters or like Mario, like when you're underground, it's like the do-do-do-do-do, kind of like that.
Right.
But and then it kind of got into this almost like Shimigami Tensei like shop music, which I thought was pretty cool. I love Megaten music, but I mean, it had great drums. And they had really cool parts where the drums and like the keyboards like worked together, and I really liked how it slowed down at the end. It was like it just started to drag out like right before the loop, which was really cool. I thought it was a nice little touch.
Yeah, I really liked the kick drum in there. I thought it was so cool. It was very bassy, but actually had like a tone to it, not just like a thud. I like the track. I mean, I just think that it was a really cool rearrangement, because if you heard the original, if you're familiar with the original track, especially the PC-88 version, there is a big difference. This one feels a lot more full, a lot more rich. And I just think that, it was an excellent recreation of a track that we already really love.
Yeah.
So.
No, and it's cool because, like, for me right now, on our Extra Life episode, we played a track from Ys Memories of Salcedo, which I'm actually playing right now. So it was pretty cool to get some more Ys in my life.
Yeah. All right. So before we talk about this disc, you want to get into another track?
Yeah, I think we've been talking a little bit long enough.
All right. So the next track we have is actually an original track. And this is called Sky Shooting, and it's composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto.
You just heard Sky Shooting, composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-88.
Now, this is a cool track, and I think the reason why we picked it is because it kind of fits the style of... when we first heard it, this was like, okay, this is why we want to do these music discs. This is really cool, man.
Yeah, it puts a little bit of pep in your step. I thought it had like this kind of Latin salsa, like dance feel to it, which I thought was pretty cool. And then it goes back and forth between these really chimey, like long echoey bells, which were really cool. And then it gets really deep and grungy with like the guitar, and then just back and forth, and a nice little like give and play, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
I think that those ringing bells really add a lot of high end, like a focus on the kind of gracefulness of this track, but that electric bass stands out. It's it's so punchy on its own.
Yeah.
That it's a cool balance. It's really like the two things you wouldn't think like these really, chimey bells and like this electric bass would go together so well. But I don't know. For me, it just worked.
Yeah, and I mean, since it was an original track, they may have been thinking, well, I want to try something that's really high and low together to kind of show the range of this sound hardware. And it was just a nice little mix. It had a feel to it and had like a liveliness to it, and they worked really well together.
But no, it's really excellent. Let's talk about this music disc a little bit. So Orphe, it's a small doujin group that focuses strictly on music software, being these music discs, and mainly produce stuff for Comiket. Comiket is those comic book conventions. We had talked about something similar with Kajihara and RST doing the Pasoket,
right?
Computer conventions. But Comiket was much larger and housed other types of media, like manga and anime and stuff like that.
I would assume it'd be a lot like here, with like comic conventions are massive, but then like video game conventions are a little smaller, or especially something that's maybe geared more towards like computer hardware or even just like sound and stuff like that would be much smaller. But
right.
So they were founded in October of 1989 as really just a group of people interested in writing both original and game music for the PC-88. And the music disc that we're featuring today, simply titled Music Disc, was their very first released product and debuted at Comiket 40 in the summer of 1991. Later on, they began to release more stuff for the PC-88, the X68000, and even Windows.
Yeah, the group actually still exists today, too, in a semi-dormant state, since most of the members are working for other companies and stuff. But apparently, they still communicate and keep that circle of friends together. It's pretty awesome. Now, there are a few different people in this group. I think there's like 5 or so. The ones we kind of want to focus on are the composers. So there is Ryuichi Hasegawa, and he did most of the original tunes on here. It's kind of like a 50-50. Mm-hmm. And then there is Takayoshi Yamamoto, who we had just heard a track from.
Right.
He was the programmer. He actually did the software end, the programming side of the music disc, but he has a ton of music in here as well.
Yeah, multi-talented.
Yeah, and then there is also Hijiri Kinbara, and these guys go by their aliases. There's Ryu, Kin, and Yama. And so you can kind of put the pieces together and figure out who did what. But
they didn't really get too creative with their handles, but it's still neat.
Yeah, but this music disc is really awesome. It's got 40 tracks, so 20 originals and 20 arrangements. There's a few different modes when you pop it in. Like, you were saying, it's for the PC-88. Pop in the floppy, it boots up. You get auto mode, which plays all the tracks kind of one after the next.
Right.
And then manual mode, where you can go in and choose if you want, original music or you want game or music arrangements. And then there's like a comment section, and there's some really interesting things in the comment section. This is kind of another thing that spawned doing these music discs, because a lot of these guys moved on to writing game music, or they were writing game music simultaneously.
Right.
So it's very relevant, I think, to get an idea of what they were doing, not necessarily in the industry, but kind of in their own space.
Right. And you get to see a little bit of, a peek at their personality, or like, what they were thinking while they were doing this, which is always neat, because we hear music all the time and we have no idea what was going through their mind or through their life, or what they were thinking or what they were trying to do. And so it's always kind of neat. And sometimes it's just cracking jokes or saying really stupid stuff.
And a lot of these comments are funny. Like, I think it was Yamamoto that said, originally they got together and they wanted to produce a game, and the whole idea was game. And then they started thinking, really the focus, what really moves you is the music. And they started kind of soloing on that. They looked at the music and they thought, what? Why don't we start with the music and build a game around the music? Because music has is such a focal point of, an emotional kind of focal point for a game. And so their intent was to create these music discs while at the same time produce a game around it. And it became this kind of more music-focused group than anything else.
Right.
And originally they were all fans of writing these tunes and kind of producing stuff. So I think everything kind of worked out in their favor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's another quote in there. It's a comment. I believe this is from Yamamoto as well. Maybe it's Hasegawa. He said, a lot of the music, a lot of the originals were actually going to go into a game called XIS for the PC-88. Now, I don't think this game ever came out.
Yeah.
I looked everywhere and I couldn't see any actual production. So maybe it just never came to fruition. But they were saying, like, there's another game we're working on, this RPG. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, it's being delayed. And then in quotes, he says, actually, to be honest, I just got lazy and we're not doing it.
Yeah.
We're not doing it right now. But no, there's just some really interesting comments in there. And I think it was kind of fun to go through and look into the past. This is 1991 and see, what these composers were doing, what they were thinking at the time, and how games kind of influenced their community and their world.
Yeah, I mean, these things are a treasure trove. When you crack them open, you don't know what you're going to get, like how many tracks, if they're going to be all covers, if it's going to be a one or two people or a whole slew of people. I mean, and it's just, you just go track by track. And you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. Oh, this is great. And, some of them have great documentation, some of them don't. And it's kind of like I said, like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it's a hit or miss. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We actually have a ton of these. We have like 40 lined up for future episodes. But all the music in this specific disc was using the split driver. And actually, Kajihara had talked about this before, that there was a driver called Split that, he just wasn't happy with, and that's why he created his own. But it's a fairly good piece of software.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how we're going to listen to the music today. And again, this music disc was composed strictly for the SoundBoard II on the PC-88. So again, YM2608, our baby, and it's going to get some playtime today. So why don't we get into our next track? James, what do we have?
The next track that we have up is called Don't Submit, also composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto.
All right, that was an original track called Don't Submit by Takayoshi Yamamoto for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-88 using the SoundBoard II.
Wow. For me, that sounds like some battle music for sure.
Oh, big time.
I love how it's driving. It's, fast paced. It never stops like pushing or pulling you forward. I love like the minimal part. I mean, I guess you can consider it minimal since it's not all the instruments going. But
when that low kind of grungy bass kind of stops,
and there's a little bit of drum going, I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I was like, oh man, when everything's all together, this is really cool too. I mean, it's like an eargasm for sure.
Oh, this is such a good track though. But I kept getting this boss battle, like this big kind of ginormous golem.
Yeah, I was thinking
blocking your way.
RPG for sure.
Yeah, and you have to like defeat him to get around, and he's trying to push back your squad or your group. And I don't know. I thought it was a crazy good track.
Yeah.
And man, we wouldn't have got to play it without doing these music discs. So
yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Let's get into our next track. This is one that you guys will definitely know. It's called Heart of Fire. And this is stage 5 from Akumajo Dracula, composed by Kinuyo Yamashita.
just heard Heart of Fire, Stage 5 from Akumajo Dracula, or Castlevania here in the States, originally composed by Kinuyo Yamashita.
And I think this version was arranged, we're not quite sure again, it's either Ryuichi Hasegawa or Takayoshi Yamamoto. These aren't credited. All the arrangements have no credits on music disc, so we have no idea who actually did them. But wow, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
really cool.
Really cool to hear this song. I mean, this is a great track.
Yeah.
I always love hearing this one when it picks up and it really gets going, and it's just so unmistakable. I mean, I think this would be, a lot of the Castlevania music is music that people could recognize fairly easily.
Oh, yeah. And now this is a very faithful recreation of the track. And I think using this hardware, hearing it in FM, it's kind of special, right? Because this isn't normally how you would ever hear it. You'd hear it through, the Famicom. So listening to its FM PSG counterpart is quite cool.
Yeah,
right?
and that's one thing that's really nice about it being a very faithful rendition of it, because it could have gone crazy to where it was like almost unrecognizable. I think you could do it where it was almost unrecognizable, even with that very recognizable melody. But I do like that, being able to hear the comparison, really.
Yeah. Obviously, we wanted to throw this one in here because it's so cool. This is actually my favorite track in that game. So.
Oh, yeah. We were excited when we saw it in there on the disc. So.
Yeah. Anyways, you ready to move on to our next one? We're keeping it short.
Yeah.
Kind of going through these. We've got a bunch of music to play.
Yeah, probably a little bit too many. But
yeah.
Next up, we have another original track. It's called Be Brave.
All right, that track was called Be Brave, composed by Ryuichi Hasegawa for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-8801 using the YM2608.
I really like this track a lot.
Yeah, it's cool.
So 80s. I love that feel, like the really, like a synthy high end. It really trails out, really dragging notes, really cool.
Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah, you were playing around with some of the channels, and it really made it so clear that like that high end really, really drags out. I thought it was pretty cool.
No, this track, I really like the guitar. It's very clean, very clean samples, and it's like it's almost stepping through your ears, like different, like right, left. And I think that's kind of clever. It's not just like a stereo guitar sound. It's actually kind of bouncing off the different channels. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, in a very creative way. And I thought another creative aspect of this was there were all these little light touches here and there that weren't, they didn't really draw your attention too heavy, and they were gone, as you noticed them, which I thought was very cool. That there was a lot going on, but it wasn't overwhelming. It still felt like there was this flow or like this dance going on with all the notes and the instruments and stuff like that, which just shows like the incredible craftsmanship of building this track.
Oh yeah, I mean this could have been in any game really. I mean you could put it anywhere and it's going to be an instant hit. But we didn't get these music discs. The world didn't really get them outside of Japan, so it's a shame because stuff like this wouldn't get heard until you listen to Pixelated Audio.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get into our next track. This is another original. It's called Battle Master, and I'm gonna guess this is a sleeping track. When you go to the inn and you pass out.
Maybe a nightmare track.
Yeah, and it's composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto again.
You just experienced Battle Master, composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-8801 using the OPNA.
Experiences, right, man? This is an excellent track.
Yeah, high octane from the start.
Oh, man. What energy. I mean, we're recording late at night right now, and I have so much energy. I just want to run down the street.
I just started sweating.
That was cool, man. I really like that. You know, it's kind of simple, actually. The melody in the beginning and stuff is kind of simple. There's some really cool elements like that, really kind of grungy rhythm guitar and stuff like that. What I found really interesting was the use of like the scales. They're really subtle, that are kind of like da-la, 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 as the melody kind of plays. And the melody's very soft. It's not really the focal point.
And it's also kind of simple too. Like a lot of the parts are very simple, but organized together, they felt very complex.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny because those scales that we hear, it kind of reminded me of like the Japanese equivalent of arpeggios in the demo scene. It kind of has that sense to it. And I think that, you know, these doujin groups, you know, there is a very big distinction, I think, between this and demo scene stuff. I mean, demo scene, when we think of demo scene, we think of the whole culture around it. You know, you're making these progs and you're doing art, and it's this whole kind of this like culture around this community, this idea. And these doujin discs are a very different beast, a very different nature. So it's interesting to look at, you know, from a Western perspective on this kind of indie group.
Right. Yeah, no, it's incredibly interesting. I mean, I didn't really know too much about this, you know, outside a few months ago when we started talking about doing these episodes. We started digging into them, and I just fell in love with these music discs. I want them for my collection, but there is definitely a gray line between, you know, the demo scene and this doujin scene that's going on. But I mean, it's just such great stuff in both sides of the line, and there's just such amazing stuff going on.
Right. So, you know, going back to the comments and what, you know, if you go into the comments of the disc, there's all these little kind of tidbits that the composers, you know, different lead programmers, leaders of the group will write in, and they try to be a little bit serious, but they totally go off the rails, and we don't see. I mean, I don't really see Japanese people do that much. Now, you don't have a face to the name.
Right.
So there's a little bit of there's this anonymous curtain between you know, us and the composer, but still there is a lot of like kind of clever quips and stuff thrown into these comments. Yeah,
I mean, you definitely get to see a little bit of a window into their personality. I mean, you're not seeing them, you're not talking to them, you don't get to, like, you know, find out how they act and their mannerisms and stuff like that, but it's much more than just listening to a track and say, oh, I really like this composer, they do great music. It's like you get to see, you know, how they think or how they talk, and how, like, you know, he was like trying to be professional, and then he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna tell you guys, like, this is how it is.
This is how it is.
So it's kind of neat. It seems like he might be a pretty cool guy to hang out with.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll have him on.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Who knows? Anyways, let's get into another track. This is another one that might be familiar.
Yeah.
This is from Gradius 3. The track is called Sandstorm. And this was originally composed by the Konami Kukeha Club. Somebody there. I'm not exactly sure the breakdown of it. But we don't really know who arranged it either because, again, it's not listed.
Yep.
This is one of the two guys. Anyways, this is Sandstorm from Gradius 3.
You just heard the cover of Sandstorm from Gradius 3 on the Orphe Music Disk.
Yeah, this was composed by the Konami Kukeha Club again. And Not sure who did the arrangement.
Yep.
As always, no credits, but Ryuichi Hasegawa or Takayoshi Yamamoto. Now, this is a really awesome version of this track. The game was originally for the Super NES, and so it's quite different hardware.
Very different.
Yeah, and we're getting this kind of rich FM version. I think it's totally awesome, totally cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so positive and dreamy, and you can't help but like improve your mood listening to this version of this track. It's so like happy and like optimistic, I guess.
Yeah, and it's weird because this track is a level track, but it feels to me like a triumphant victory lap.
Right.
You know? But no, I liked it. That was really cool. Very well-known track too. So
yeah. Well, and when I was listening to it, I was like, man, those kick drums are crazy. Do you think we could solo those out for this?
Yeah. Let's see if we can find them here. It's probably all on the PCM channels. You want to just do the whole rhythm section?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, see, it was like these machine guns. I mean, it was just nuts. Like the kick drum was just going crazy.
Felt like my heartbeat right there.
Like palpitations.
Oh man, yeah, it's cool, man. And there's a lot of energy put into that. You know, the back end, I think, of this track. You know, even though the top end's very soaring, very again, victory feeling. It's cool recreation. Anyways, next track. What do we got, James?
Our next track is called Last Night, and it's another original one.
That was Last Night, composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-8801 using the YM2608.
Another amazing original track. I really like this one.
This track, for me, just screams like Toho music. It really has that frantic, but that kick is always like on the first and thirds, like duh, duh, it just makes everything feel a little bit more like rushed and frantic. And you know what? This does feel like game music to me. It feels like, do you remember like Pada Pada? Like that dancing kind of thing? Yeah, it feels like it would fit into that. Like a dancing, one of those rhythm games. I don't know.
I guess just in my head, I got a live music feel, I guess, like where I could just imagine like the people in a band playing and the crowd like getting involved. And
I like yours a little bit better. Pada Pada is pretty goofy, man. I remember watching people in the arcades do that, like in Japan, and they're so serious about it, and they got like their moves and everything looks very like fluid, and I was just like, I was actually kind of impressed. I was like, man, I kind of wish I could do that, but I'm this 6'1" white dude that would stand out like so bad. Anyways, I think what I like about this track is the high end. It's really it's a little bit, almost a little bit piercing, but at the same time, it has some really cool like dissonant notes, and the play of where different channels are headed, the different directions that they're going is really interesting, and everything kind of complements itself, and it feels like the track is almost falling apart. and then it kind of glues itself back together,
right?
Slowly, like just disintegrating. And I really like that. Do you want to hear the high end?
Oh yeah,
on this, just real quick. This is all on the FM, I believe.
That part's like where I could see, like, this Japanese guy on the keyboard just like going to town, like smiling at the crowd, like look what my fingers are doing.
Not
like,
even looking at the keys.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's another dude on like a keytar, and he's the one doing the da 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 da.
I could just see like this attitude of like, look what I'm doing. I'm not even paying attention. It's so cool. But those dissonant notes, I think that was one of the things that added to that. Like, this gave me a live feel to it. And I do like how you said that the track feels like it kind of comes apart, and the instruments and stuff kind of start moving in different directions, but then it's like a rubber band. They just all come back together all at once, and that's where I see the crowd jumping up and down.
That's where the Pata Pata fever starts.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get into our next track. This is called Glitter Sky, composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto again.
That was Glitter Sky, composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto for the Orphe Music Disk.
Now, this is a totally kick-ass track, dude.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I like how in the beginning it feels like it's smooth. It's energetic and smooth. It's not like frantic. But then later on, it starts to feel a little more frantic when everything gets going and those like hi-hats start coming in and just so much going on. I really liked it.
Yeah, the first time I heard this, I wasn't really feeling the bass that, kind of slide. It almost sounds like whale sounds. And I was just like, nah, I'm kind of over that. But it really does accent the track. It does kind of give it its own kind of unique flavor. It grew on me. I ended up liking it a lot more. Now, hearing it now with you, it's like, okay, it's not as kind of annoying sounding as it first was. And now I'm really liking it. So
yeah, it's always funny how we'll be listening to music getting ready for the shows, or we'll be picking out tracks for shows, and we're like, oh, this track's good, I like this one, this is cool, and we're listening to the music. But then when we're recording, like we take our breaks, we listen to the music and we come right back in right from listening to it, and we're always so much more pumped. I mean, I don't know if it's because we're like trying to dissect it and pick it apart, or just like the energy of recording and stuff like that. It's just we're always just so much more excited. We're like, man, like that track was so much better than I remember it, and it's pretty cool.
And the other part of that though is that we're actually listening. It's like, have you ever done those taste things where you eat a piece of food, or like you eat something, close your eyes, and you think about like each sensation that your tongue is getting, like one of those exercises, I guess, mental awareness or something. Now, going back to the track, I do really like that breakdown, that drum breakdown. Do you want to hear that?
Yeah.
I want to hear that. God, so awesome.
Yeah.
That drummer's getting the ladies tonight, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
He was really going to town on that cymbal or hi-hat or whatever. I mean, it's just like constant. And I just, in my head, when I just hear something constant like that, I just see like one guy sitting there with one drumstick, and the whole band's doing everything else, and his job is just to hit that cymbal.
Yeah, just like the cowbell thing.
Yeah.
Let's add the PSG to that real quick, though, because I think that gives it another kind of interesting quality. Right?
Yeah, another layer.
Now, I knew the PSG was doing some cool stuff, but I didn't think it was that cool. And now I'm hearing it. I'm like, oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah, I loved how eerie it was in the beginning. It was so weird and like dreamlike, I guess. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so ready to move on to the next track?
Yeah.
Got a lot of music today.
Yeah, we're trying to chop down that tree of music that we got going on.
Yeah, well, we could have just done the whole 40 tracks, but trying to piece it down a little bit.
Yeah, that might have been a bit much.
Yeah, so this next track is called Shrine, and it's composed by Ryuichi Hasegawa.
That was Shrine, composed by Ryuichi Hasegawa for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-88.
That's one groovy shrine.
Oh, yeah. I like this one, though. The pacing was so like smooth and kind of laid back. Nice little stereo flourishes here and there, but not overwhelming. I loved the echo on that drum. It was so cool. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, it's got those really, tenuto, strong hits, like dun, dun, dun. But it puts all this force and all this energy into this one kind of explosive note, and then it backs off. it kind of shines. It just kind of shimmers, and I really like that. It's interesting because it is such a very intense beat that kind of continues, through the track, but then everything else is so mellow around it.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it another unique kind of feature and a unique quality.
Yeah, to me, that gave me this like town music feel. And that beat was kind of like the heart of the town. Like there's people moving around and doing stuff, but it's a happy, relaxed,
a feel-good town.
Yeah, I like that. But it also gives me this feeling that something bad's gonna happen in this town. So
for me, I was just so laid back listening to this. I was just, we're sitting here listening to it, and I had to like kind of lean back in the chair and just kind of close my eyes and just smile. I was like,
Well,
that's how you do it.
The track didn't give me any ominous feelings. It's just,
building up.
It can only be so happy for so long.
It's like pre-stress.
Yeah.
That was a cool track. Anyways, let's move on to another cover.
Yeah.
This is an arrangement from a game called Lightning Fighters, or Trigon in Japan, and the track is called Nostalgic. Okay, that was Nostalgic from the game Trigon, or in the US here, Lightning Fighters, originally composed by Kei Yamane and Kenichi Matsubara, and this version was arranged by Hijiri Kinbara. And this is the first track we've played from him today.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only actually done 3 tracks in this disc. There's actually something in the comments about the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he is working for another company, and he was working on some other kind of projects or something like that. And so he didn't have a comment. The kind of leader of the group said, he's busy. He couldn't say anything because in Japan, like, companies are kind of weird about like you doing outside work.
Mm-hmm.
So he just wanted to say, this was his track, and he had 2 other contributions. There was Thundercross and a track from Splatterhouse. All cool stuff, but we got to pick and choose our poison here.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, this was a cool track to pick. I really, really love the beginning of this track. We know for a fact that this plays during the credits of Trigon or Lightning Fighters, and I was watching a playthrough just to make sure, check the credits and stuff like that for the original composers and stuff, and you were like, oh yeah, this is the track we're gonna play, and I was like, is it? Let me check here, and then I was like, oh yeah, it is. Like, the emotional tone in this version is so dramatic and so beautiful. I mean, it's like a whole nother level of
complexity and beauty.
Yeah, I mean, this was really great. Great melody. There's great pacing. They really like stretch your legs and walk around with the scales and stuff like that. Like, they just use everything. What's
funny though is this wasn't in our original track list that we were going to play today, and you listened to it last night and you're like, hey Brian, dude, we got to play this track.
Yeah.
Could we sub it out for a different one? We had a pretty strong lineup, I think, and so ended up being we just added it in.
Yeah, we couldn't pick one to remove, but for me, I mean, just the sad, like, longing feeling of this track really hit me hard. I really liked it a lot.
I like the name Nostalgic because it really is just that. It has some kind of memory aspect to it. And being an ending track, kind of looking back at what you've accomplished or what you've done, what you've gone through, I think it fits.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's always a little twinge of pain when you kind of look back at how great things used to be, or like, as us as kids looking back playing the games, sitting around having all day to play.
It's a good pain.
Yeah.
It's a good pain.
It's something we don't have anymore, but it's nice that we got to experience it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to, we only have a few more tracks, right? Next two are originals. So let's check out this track by Takayoshi Yamamoto. It's called Ambition.
You just heard Ambition, composed by Takayoshi Yamamoto for the Orphe Music Disk on the PC-88 using the OPNA.
This was a really dark and desperate track. I liked it. I had this imagery, but first tell me about your thoughts.
I just loved how this, like right from the beginning of the track, it feels like I need to strap in and buckle my safety belt because this track is going to get wild.
I thought you were going to say I need to go pee.
Well, you might want to do that too before you listen to it. But I love how it's got all these wild scales juxtaposed with this very simple beat, and it's kind of like it melts your face and then it lets you recover before it melts your face again. And I mean, it just goes crazy. And I love in that part in the middle when it almost has like a Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, like really hard hitting drums, nothing else going on. It's like dun, 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 dun. And I was just like, whoa, this is so cool. And then it just goes face melt, full face melt after that. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the kind of imagery that I got from this was, first of all, it's an awesome track. And I just couldn't help but think, like, when I was listening, it kind of reminded me of, like, you got that fuzz pedal, right, on that rhythm. And it's almost like, if you can picture this with me, some rain clouds, like this huge valley of rain clouds. That melody is like the sun and these little rays kind of barely piercing through, but not really penetrating this huge storm. Eventually, the storm kind of like has this answer or this call, and it's like da 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 da, and then the sun like has this beam of light that shines through, and it gets this amazing amount of energy. The clouds kind of overcome, and it goes back and gets subtle, like this very kind of underspoken melody again. And I don't know, that's what I was thinking the whole time.
Yeah, you always have like fields and stuff like that. But yeah, that's cool. I could totally see that.
Well, it's because I go paragliding. I think it has like when I see like these clouds and stuff, like I think of video game music. So
nice. Yeah. No, I could totally
first thing going through my mind.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that battle of good and evil and someone winning out, and I could see that with the really crazy parts and the really simple parts. It's kind of like this back and forth battle going on. No, I could totally see that.
Right. No, you can't.
Maybe not in that exact imagery, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I like that analogy. I thought it worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today we covered the Orphe Music Disk for the PC-88, composed by Ryuichi Hasegawa, Hijiri Kinbara, and Takayoshi Yamamoto. Hope you guys liked it. I had a lot of fun doing this kind of new style episode.
Yeah, no, it was very fun, especially getting to flex our creative muscles with what we think's going on in these tracks.
Yeah.
You can make sure to check us out on our website, pixelatedaudio.com, for show notes and track lists. We also have our social media with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Pixelated Audio. And I have our Instagram caught up. I've been posting on there, so hopefully you guys have noticed that.
About time, James.
Yeah, it took me about 6 months or so, but they got it going now.
Yeah, and also make sure you check out VGM Rips for high-quality video game music. You can download packs and all that great stuff. It's an awesome site, and all the guys are really cool. And if you like the show, make sure you leave us a review on iTunes, or you can email us directly if you can't find it. But yeah, iTunes is a great way. We want to just say thank you to everybody who's left a review so far. And if you like this episode and this new mini-series within the show, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll either continue doing them, or we'll just kind of let them fade away. I don't know. But yeah, it's not going to take the place of, our normal episode. It's going to be kind of supplemental material.
Right. And I'm sure they're going to develop and change a little bit over time as we get more used to them and find out some more cool things. But if you like the sound of this show, make sure to check out some of our past episodes on the PC-88 and PC-98. We had a Ground Seed episode and a Hole Chaser episode, both by Masahiro Kajihara, which we got to have him on for the Hole Chaser episode and talk to him, which was just still unbelievable.
Yeah. He did some of the tracks for Ground Seed, and then he did all of the Hole Chaser stuff. And he kind of gave us some insight on the music disc scene from his perspective and how they got started. And so it's kind of interesting. And that's, again, kind of what spawned this style of episode. We had been listening to music discs and been interested, but we never knew how we could kind of shoehorn them in to our show. And so we thought, you know what? Why don't we just do it? Why don't we just do a music disc every now and then, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Anyways, the track taking us out, we're going to play another original, and this is again by Takayoshi Yamamoto. The track is called Oath. It's just a really cool, chill track. Hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you in a few weeks for the next episode. the good thing is if, even if nobody likes this episode, at least the music was good.
Yeah. Just like Golden Axe.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Even if no one liked the episode, the music was good. But still, like that one, and it's even as embarrassing it is for us, like people are like, oh yeah, I really like that one. And
yeah.
One guy actually listed it as like one of his 5 favorite episodes or something like that. I don't know if it's because of the game or not.
Blows my mind. Yeah, it must be because of the game.